hard they're collecting canned goods for Niles Township. They're distributing information that residents need to know about their rights. So they are helping our community meet these challenging times and to meet this moment. So the village's revitalization efforts in this corridor would not be possible without another very important partner and investor, and it's the Nyman family. Are they here? I saw them outside. There, Linda. Ira and Linda Nyman, owners of Zelda's Catering, have been a mainstay on Main Street for several decades with Zelda's Catering. In the past couple of years, they've invested significantly in their catering operation, and we are proud that they are one of the largest kosher caterers in the Midwest. They invested in this space, and we look forward to the opening of their two new businesses. But they also provided a space for Soul Good Coffee. So I am grateful to all of you. I am grateful to Soul Good's owner, Christina Perez-Thomas. This started with her dream. And it started with a little pink trailer serving coffee that went to school drop-offs in the morning, and to the Illinois Science and Technology Park, and to the commuter stations and the farmers market. And from there, she sought out a partnership with Sketchbook Brewing and had a pop-up coffee shop in there. And here she is today. So without further ado, thank you for coming to Skokie. Thank you, Governor, the state of Illinois, and all of our partners for your support. And it's my honor to introduce my friend and neighbor, Christina Perez-Thomas.
Good afternoon and welcome to So Good Coffee. My name is Christina Perez-Thomas, and I am deeply grateful to be standing here today. As a girl who grew up in Logan Square in Chicago, I never imagined a moment like this would be possible for me. So Good began as a dream that I carried quietly for many years, a dream to create a cafe and a business that was rooted in purpose and in community. But the road to business ownership wasn't easy, as many small business owners can attest to. There were moments of big doubt and fear and dealing with rising costs and just moments of not knowing how we were going to move forward. But every step of the way, this community showed up for us. They lent a helping hand, they spread the word, they told their friends, and they cheered us on. And I can say that So Good exists today because we built it together. And as Mayor said, we started as a coffee truck, a coffee trailer 4 years ago, traveling all around Skokie to different neighborhoods and intentionally getting to know people from all walks of life. And it was because of those community connections that we were able to open various mini pop-up cafes and then eventually plant permanent roots right here on Main Street, down the street from where I'm raising my family. And so that's why receiving this capital and infrastructure grant means so much to me personally. It's not just funding for the build out of this beautiful space, but it's the investment in small businesses. And when we invest in small businesses, we invest in the courage of everyday people. We invest in hope and in opportunity and in the belief that anyone from any background, even a girl from Logan Square, can build something meaningful, rooted in purpose. And so I just want to thank you all for believing in small businesses like ours and for allowing and offering resources to help us grow and continue serving the communities that we cherish. And I'd like to thank all the elected officials for making time in your schedule to be here today. And now it is truly my honor and privilege to introduce someone that has been a longtime champion of small businesses across our state, Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Great to see you. Great to be here. Thank you for welcoming me. And I really am proud to be here to announce yet another round of grants supporting Illinois small businesses. From corner stores to cafes to, well, burgeoning manufacturers, small businesses are the job creators at the heart of the Illinois economy, and they're the pride of so many communities across the state. That's exemplified in our hosts today. Of course, Christina and the team at Soul Good Coffee here in Skokie have, well, they've anchored this area. And together with Zelda's, which I'm also a customer of Zelda's, and have known for a long time. And of course, Main Street, I want to add, is also the street on which the original Holocaust Museum was opened. And so I'm quite familiar with the area. And it is folks who are starting things up, folks who are serving residents and families while investing into their hometown. They're aligning their own growth and their success with the growth and success of their customers and their neighbors. Soulgood is an exemplar of how small employers make a difference for the communities that they serve. I also want to thank our mayor here in Skokie, Ann Tennis. Again, new leadership in a village that's had so much success. It's great to see you at work, and I know you've been promoting this village for quite some time, and we're grateful for that. Love a good promoter of the community. I want to also recognize Assistant Director Cameron Yost of the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, my colleagues in the General Assembly, Senator Laura Fine, Representatives Jennifer Gon-Gershowitz, Representative Kevin Olikel, for their partnership in uplifting and easing the burdens that challenge our small businesses. And of course, Commissioner Morita, thank you for your leadership in the county. With nearly $10 million in funding awarded, this round of grants will reach 47 small businesses in communities all across Illinois, supporting the hard work, the creativity, and passion of entrepreneurs and their employees, rather. And I do want to just point out, this is not the first time that we've made grant awards for small businesses. It won't be the last time. It's quite important to all of us, especially those in elected office, to see the community spurred on with support from the state government and local government. At the center of our economic vision for this state is our focus on job creation. And these merchants sustain quality jobs, anchor downtowns and commercial districts, provide vital goods and services, play an integral role in supply chains, and they bolster the strength and diversity of our economy. Most new jobs come from startups and small businesses. In fact, it's about 55% on average of new jobs that get created in Illinois and across the country are because of, entrepreneurs willing to take a risk. And the biggest companies in Illinois that are among the biggest in the world, I'm sure you know many of their names, got started as small companies, just like Soulgood Coffee. Starting and growing a business requires risk takers willing to invest their own capital and talent to get something going. And they're the heroes of the economic engine of Illinois. Even more than that, small businesses define the character of our communities. They are owned and operated by our neighbors. They share in our values and our traditions. They are, part of the soul of a village and a city. You go to any small town or city or neighborhood in Illinois, and you'll find places just like this where people go to work, to gather, to connect with one another. And these businesses are what make Illinois who we are. Often, as I said about Soulgood, they're the exemplars of the community. Over the past few months, while federal agents have occupied our streets, Soulgood has been a place where community members can meet and feel safe and check in with one another. Soulgood understands that this isn't just a business, it's a community institution. And that's the spirit that we are here today uplifting. The Small Business Capital and Infrastructure Grants Program assists qualified businesses across the state in capacity building investments, from facility improvements to property acquisitions to equipment upgrades. For the businesses, that means expanding operations, reaching into new markets, increasing efficiency and revenue. For communities, it means jobs and economic activity and investment. I've met with owners and employees all across Illinois. They often face the same challenges while working on slim margins and stretching every dollar to compete. These grants are about bridging the gap between those margins and the ambition of these entrepreneurs, providing the fuel for local enterprises to invest in their vision, in their employees, and in their communities. Now, I also want to say that it's an especially important time for us to double down on our commitment to lifting up small businesses and local communities. After these enterprises have battled through COVID-19 and inflation, the tariffs that are now being imposed by the administration in Washington are making it even harder for small businesses to get by. Prices are increasing on the goods that these small businesses have to buy to produce the products that they do, while fewer people can afford to pay the higher prices. It's a tax on consumers and businesses alike. I've said this many times before, but I just want everybody to understand tariffs are taxes. Tariffs are taxes. If you pay higher prices today, it's because Washington is imposing tariffs on the goods that make these businesses go. Nevertheless, the state of Illinois remains laser focused on the economic agenda that fights back against these tariffs, promotes shared prosperity, and helps grow our entrepreneurial environment. So with that, and actually before I turn it over, I just want to say one last thing. When you send really great leaders to Springfield to represent you, it makes our job so much easier, and especially it's great for the community, because I know that I can rely on the people that you elected. They're standing behind me. These are great people, and when they want something for the community, they pound on my door. If I'm not already listening, they will make me listen. And I very much appreciate that, because I can't know what's happening in every community across the state unless people who represent those individual communities bring the challenges and problems of families and businesses to my attention. And I'm very appreciative of that. So with that, I'm now happy to pass this podium over to an advocate, a champion of small businesses, our DCEO Assistant Director, Cameron Yost.
Thank you, Governor Pritzker, for the introduction. Good afternoon, and as the governor said, my name is Cameron Yost, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, or DCEO, and I'm truly thrilled to be here today to help announce $10 million in funding for Illinois' small businesses. I also want to thank Christina and the entire staff and team here at So Good Coffee. And I also, Christina, have to give a shout out to your family who's also here today, who I'm sure have been extraordinarily supportive and wonderful throughout this whole process. DCEO's mission is to create equitable economic development opportunities for all Illinoisans. And we do that by administering thousands of programs and grants that provide resources to businesses and create good paying jobs. The Small Business Capital and Infrastructure Grant is a prime example of DCEO's impact in action, uplifting our state's underrepresented communities and small businesses. I want to thank my colleagues in DCEO's Office of Economic Equity and Empowerment, led by Rebecca Estrada, who's joining us here today, for implementing good public policies that make days like today possible. Through this program, DCEO will provide funding to 47 small businesses all across the state, helping them achieve sustainable growth, improve operations, and create and retain jobs. Illinois' small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and no one understands that more than Governor Pritzker. I want to thank Governor Pritzker and all the members of the Illinois General Assembly for continuing year after year to give DCEO the tools we need to provide resources to our communities, invest in our employers, and bolster our local economies. Together, we are reinforcing why Illinois is the best place to live, work, and do business. Thank you so much for having me today, and with that, it's my pleasure to introduce State Senator Laura Fine.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am so proud to represent this community because this is a community that's in a state that cares. And it's a state and a community that works to lift our neighbors. And we know that when we help local businesses grow, we strengthen the heart of that community. I'm grateful to Governor Pritzker. Thank you so much for putting Skokie on the map today, and for the department for uplifting our community through the Small Business Capital and Infrastructure Program. We are an area that's had our punches in the last several weeks, and it's so nice to be here to celebrate with people who've really helped us come through a really challenging time and have lifted us all. And a big shout out to the mayor, to Christina, to my colleagues in Cook County, the General Assembly, and Governor Pritzker, because this is all teamwork, and this is how we get it done. So I'm very proud to be here and celebrate with all of you for another investment in Skokie's future. Over the past 14 years, I have watched dozens of entrepreneurs come into our districts. Entrepreneurs give us their talent, they give us their culture and their creativity, and they truly serve all of us. So I want to welcome our newest neighbor, who is not a stranger to the neighborhood and is investing back where her family lives, and Soul Good Coffee for everything you are doing for our community. You truly reflect the very best of Skokie, our district, and our state, and I am thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much, and with that, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Representative Gon Gershowitz.
Good afternoon. It's wonderful to be here at Soul Good Coffee, a business that truly lives up to its name. I want to thank Governor J.B. Pritzker and the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity for their commitment to investing in small businesses across our state. And I want to extend a huge congratulations to the entire Soul Good team on being selected for this impactful business and capital infrastructure grant. As the state representative for Skokie, I could not be prouder to celebrate this moment right here in our community. Soul Good Coffee is more than a place to grab a cup of coffee. It's a place built on love, service, and connection. From their early days operating out of a cafe truck to opening the doors of this beautiful brick and mortar location in September, they have shown what we can do when passion meets perseverance. And Skokie noticed. In 2023, Soul Good was named Skokie's Business of the Year, not just for great coffee, but for their heart. Their donation drives, their community partnerships, their willingness to show up for neighbors in need. These are the things that define a local business as a community anchor. That's why today matters. Small businesses like Soul Good are the heart and soul of our neighborhoods. They create jobs, yes, but they are also creating spaces where people feel seen, welcome, and connected. They reflect the diversity, resilience, and ingenuity that we come to define and think of when we think of Illinois. The grant program we're celebrating today, nearly $10 million for 47 small businesses across the state, is designed to help entrepreneurs like the Soul Good team grow and thrive. Whether it's investing in new equipment, expanding a space, improving infrastructure, or planting the seeds for future development, this funding helps ensure that dreams like this one don't just survive, but they flourish. And when small businesses flourish, communities flourish. So to the owners and the entire Soul Good family, thank you for believing in Skokie. Thank you for pouring yourselves into this shop, into this neighborhood, and into the people that walk through your door. Your success strengthens our community. And to Governor Pritzker and DCEO, thank you for recognizing the power of local businesses and for continuing to invest in the places and people who make Illinois stronger. I am so proud to represent this community and so happy and excited to have some good news to share with all of you today. And with that, I am going to introduce my colleague, also the state representative who represents the other half of Skokie, State Representative Kevin Olakal.
Good afternoon. I'm going to keep my remarks brief because I don't want to see any more customers be turned away. My name is Kevin Olakal, represent Illinois 16th District. I think I asked Christina like a dozen times which side of Main Street is their permanent location going to be, because My district is just across the street. I represent the southern half of Skokie, Lincolnwood, and the West Ridge community. But I'm really incredibly excited and proud to celebrate Soul Good Cafe. I met Christina. I knocked on her door a couple of years back. She's a constituent, and learned about her vision for this coffee shop and this endeavor. And it's been incredible to watch as she grew this from a pop-up to a trailer to this permanent location. And it's truly a testament to her vision, her passion, the team that she's built here at Soul Good, and it's just incredible to watch. And this business is really a community-driven business. It's an anchor in our community. Last week I came in here, I bought my coffee, I rounded up my purchase so that the money could go to our township food pantry. And so it's really incredible to see a business like this flourish. And also it's an anchor for the entire Main Street corridor, and I can't wait to see what comes of it. And we know that the margin for error for small businesses are very, very slim. So it's incredibly important, and I'm grateful to Governor Pritzker, DCEO, for administering these programs that really allow for our small businesses to flourish, especially at a time when we're watching the federal government decimate programs for our small businesses, our underrepresented businesses. We're watching a lot of instability at the federal government, and a lot of instability in our economy at the moment. I'm grateful that Governor Pritzker, who has been a steadfast and vocal supporter of our small businesses, is continuing to find ways to support our local economy. And he has my commitment, I know my colleagues' commitment in Springfield to ensure that we are partners in this work, ensuring that we're supporting our small businesses and growing our economy. But again, I want to thank him for his great work and the administration. I want to thank everyone for being here to support Soul Good. And again, want to congratulate Christina and the team for the incredible work. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the great work that you all are going to continue to do in this space. This place is beautiful, and excited to see all the great work that you will do. And with that, I believe I'm going to bring up Governor Pritzker to answer any questions.
Thank you, Representative. Happy to take questions from members of the media.
Hey, Governor, I was wondering if you might be able to comment on the process by which Patty Garcia entered the race for Congress. Do you think there was anything untoward about what went on there? And separately, are you surprised by how people in Washington reacted to how this happened?
Look, I have an enormous amount of respect for the career that Chuy Garcia has had, both in Congress and before. I don't think that this was the right way to exit. So I guess I'm a little surprised that there's been so much notice of it, but not surprised people's reactions.
Governor.
Yeah, Olivia.
Governor, number of bills still waiting to maybe be signed by you. There's the one about.
You're anxious? You need to know the answer right now?
Yes, I am anxiously waiting. But the one on immigration arrest at courthouses, has that come to your desk yet? And do you have plans to sign it?
It has not.
Why not?
Well, typically it takes a little time to enroll these bills and have them delivered to me. There were a fair number of them actually from veto session. So no doubt they'll come soon. But we've had, I don't know, 1 or 2 holidays in between, and probably it'll be early December before, or late November probably, before I see some of them.
And do you plan to sign that one?
That particular one? Oh, yes, I was an advocate for the bills, protecting our immigrant communities across the state.
Governor, Julian Cruz with WGN. Nice to see you.
Hi, Julian.
I want to ask you some questions about, we had a horrific week here with that Blue Line tragedy occurring. A lot of questions being asked about the individual who was charged with this horrific crime. You know, more than 70 priors.
Yeah.
A lot of prosecutors are asking, is it time to amend the Safety Act? And they brought up, maybe you haven't heard about this yet, but back in August, a judge, a lieutenant judge, had the opportunity to talk to this individual, Judge Teresa Molina-Gonzalez. She said, I can't keep everybody in jail because the state's attorney wants me to. The prosecutor tried to warn her that in their opinion, this individual was a threat to public safety. Your reaction?
The Safety Act is designed to give judges the ability to keep people in jail who they think are potentially dangerous for the community. So it is the judgment of those elected judges that ultimately determines, in most cases, whether somebody is released or not. And it's a better way, by the way, than bail. Because bail is sort of an automatic out for people who just happen to have enough money, and an automatic incarceration for somebody who happens not to have enough money. Rather use judgment, good judgment, in most cases, to keep violent criminals or people who have mental health problems. And it's my understanding, at least all the reading that I've done, I don't know more than that, that this person seems to have had some serious mental health challenges. And so that's another aspect of what I think judges need to take into consideration. I want to make sure that we are providing the kind of mental health that should be available to people who need it, and especially somebody who has the potential for, or who has in the past committed some violence.
If I could make just a quick follow-up.
Yes.
The prosecutors we're talking to are saying that there are problems, and they give some examples. For example, a convicted murderer, these are real-life cases, convicted murderer who served his sentence and parole, and then randomly punching a woman in the face on Michigan Avenue.
Yeah.
But this person cannot be held in custody awaiting trial, according to prosecutors. So they say there's some problems with the Safety Act. I mean, are you open to any amendments in the act or taking a closer look at it?
Of course. If there are changes that need to be, look, we do this all the time in Springfield, right? Where there are laws that have been on the books for 20 years that need tweaking because there's something that somebody missed in the original, writing of it. And so always willing to look at that. I can't speak to the specifics of that case that you're raising, but just to say, of course, and I've said this about the Safety Act before, and about really every bill that gets passed in Springfield. Sometimes bills get passed and everybody that votes for it knows that there needs to be a trailer bill or a tweak that needs to be made afterward. So I think everybody is open to listening to what changes might need to be made.
Governor, you were
Yeah, sorry, we'll get Brendan next, and then I'll catch you, Craig. Yeah, sorry.
Governor, you were confronted a few weeks ago in Little Village by a Chicago alderman. I think he was asking about more resources, state resources for the city of Chicago, a few other things. But you have responded, what we really need is a graduated income tax. Obviously, you pushed that very hard in 2020. Obviously, since the year's budget has been okay, but now we're seeing structural budget deficit kind of come back, and then you have the one big beautiful bill on top of that. Is 2026 the right time to take a second bite of the apple at the graduation tax?
I was not raising it to him because it's specifically something that I'm going to propose in the 26th. I mean, by the way, the governor is not the one who ultimately proposes those bills or even signs them, right? When it's an amendment to the Constitution, the governor really has almost nothing to do with it other than perhaps advocacy. What I was saying in response to the alderman was, because he was making the claim that somehow that I'm not in favor of large corporations or wealthy people paying their fair share, I think is what he was saying. And that's ludicrous. The very first thing that I did, or one of the very first things that I did in office, was propose and ask the General Assembly to put on the ballot the amendment that would have a graduated income tax in the state. It didn't pass with the voters. But as you know, I worked hard. I put resources behind it more than anybody's ever done before. So one cannot claim that I am not in favor of a more progressive rather than regressive tax system. And that's what I was trying to say to him when he was saying that being against the head tax in the city of Chicago is somehow my opposition to having wealthier people pay more and middle-class people pay less. So all I can say is I believe that we need to have a system that is more progressive and less regressive than the one that we have now.
Will you advocate for it next year?
I think it's something that is being talked about by members of the General Assembly. We'll have to see if it gets proposed. It's not something that's been a priority for me going into the next session. We clearly want to make sure first that we are looking at finding efficiencies in government. That's always the very, very first thing. But I do think a graduated system is better than a flat tax system. And so if there's a possibility for us to have a system like that, it's better than the one we have.
If I guess a quick follow-up just
Sure.
on efficiencies, because you ask your agencies to provide 4%
Yes.
Cuts or identify what can be cut.
Yeah.
Do you think that could be, or is that going to need to be, have you reviewed those first of all, but also is that going to be necessary given some of the
Well, as you know, we don't pass a new budget until, well, sometime in the spring. And it's quite a difficult endeavor to find $200, $300, $400 million of cuts, let alone, more if we need to. And so trying to get each agency to find that much within their budget for the coming year and how they would ramp down a program that, that is currently running, or how they might find efficiencies to continue to run a program as well as it was with less money. Those are all difficult things, and so that's why it takes longer than, I know there are Republicans who have demanded to see what does that look like. The reality is that it takes some time for our agencies to come up with those ideas, and it's a discussion more than it is some kind of report on which we're all going to vote. Yeah, Craig.
Kind of two-part, I guess, if you will. Obviously, you've heard what played out in Washington this week with some members of Congress who had military or CIA background, basically encouraging troops not to follow what they say were illegal or unconstitutional orders, and then the president's response. Were those lawmakers right in encouraging military members not to follow illegal orders, and comment on Trump's response?
Well, remember what they were asking. They were telling troops, follow the law. And who's responding negatively to that? The 34-time convicted felon in the White House. And so when he attacks people, it's often because he knows that what he is doing is wrong. And so he wants to make it seem like someone who is saying something negative about him is the wrongdoer. He's the one. And he says these things because he wants to deflect from what he's often asked people to do in government, people who are serving the public to do, which is to do things that are illegal. We saw that time and time again, and frankly, you still see it in the city of Chicago with ICE and CBP. And so that's the kind of thing that certainly people who have served their country, veterans that are serving now in Congress, have an absolute right. And these are decent, honorable people. They have an absolute right to stand up and say to everyone, follow the law. That's all they were saying to the troops of the United States.
Should the Illinois National Guardsmen who were called up under what turned out to be a $20 million spending plan for the Texas and Illinois National Guard that were never deployed, should they have said no? And also, what do you think about how much that has cost for an operation that didn't even get off the ground?
Yeah, everyone should follow the law. That's my response, and I believe that apparently more than the president does. But in terms of the expense, it's been much more costly than that. There is a study that's now been done that shows that hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent, and it has cost the state of Illinois, the economic situation of the state of Illinois, literally hundreds of millions of dollars what the president has done. The federal government is attacking state government, local government, and the people who live in our states and cities. And that is a costly endeavor. It is illegal in many cases, and we've had courts rule that it is such. So yeah, I mean, the president of the United States, if he wants to do something good, he needs to ramp down the tariffs. He needs to make sure that he is following the law, meaning if Congress has passed a program that is supposed to be funded, he should fund it. And then he needs to search his own conscience, if he has one, about whether or not we should feed people who are hungry and whether or not we should provide health care to people who need it.
Governor Pritzker,
yeah.
Back to the CTA attack for a moment. You have talked for months about crime in Chicago being down, and we're on the right track. The reports about this and how horrific it was across the country.
Yes.
Do things like that, do incidents like that, as isolated as they may be, make it harder to make that case?
Look, wherever there is a horrible crime that is committed, and they happen all over the country, it doesn't show a positive light on wherever it is that that crime occurred. Chicago, because the President of the United States regularly stands up and attacks the city of Chicago and says that it's on fire, and that every neighborhood and every community of Chicago is a dangerous place to be. When he does that, anytime there is a crime, and especially one that's this horrific, it tends to get amplified because of his words. I don't diminish what happened on the Blue Line in any way when I say that crime is down in the city and the state. What I am saying is truthful. It is also true that any crime that occurs, and especially one like this, is one that we ought to be going after, that we ought to be investigating, and we ought to holding people accountable for.
Very quickly, on your visit to the Vatican,
Yes.
what did you discuss with the Pope, and did you two crack a couple of cans of the Pope beer?
Well, I didn't convert him.
And he not you?
He did not convert me, although I have to say, when you're in his presence, he is very charming, and he's a very, very kind person. And it was truly a delight to spend time with him. He has, at his core, the belief that it is humankind's nature to stand up for the most vulnerable. And that you can tell that he believes that it is in part his job to lead in that respect. And I can't tell you what that means to me. It's, I think, for the people who stand behind me who've been elected to public office, you run for office because you believe that we ought to stand up for people who need a little bit of help.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, looking right here. Come on in.